Code of conduct.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. God made me punch in accurate numbers. My castle won't crumble. What I tackle will fumble. I've been a leader when they ain't see it, but now my feet up. According to me, royalty didn't end with King Tut. Crown on my head, clouds is at my legs. Big says sky is the limit. I look down on the ledge. I push the bar like I'm opening a cell. Hands in my cookie jar, you won't come out with a single nail. I need all of mine. The weight of my shoulders won't fit on a scale. What's a king to a giant? Well, Goliath fell. Even if we playin' chess, dog, this king can't be checked. I make all my moves on the board, I invented my steps. I'm a king, the blood of a ruler, I feel like Mansa Musa. Make your squad disappear like landing by the Bermuda. Triangle, look at it from my angle. I'm a king, the closest thing to being one of God's angels. I'm a king. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Code of Conduct with the King podcast. I am your host, JSpenceTheKing, and you are listening to this on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network presented by Picasso Pizza. Treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's Pizza. We are Buffalo Pizza, shipping local and nationwide. Order online at PicassoPizza.net. What is going on, Buffalo Bills fans? My peoples and Sabres fans, all them fans, y'all. The Buffalo crew, my Bandits fans, all of them fans. What's going on? I am back. I'm excited to be back. We back on this thing on a regular weekly basis. And I have a special guest. I got somebody that's like family to me now. We done chopped it up a couple times. And listen, it's going to be a good conversation tonight. We're going to have a good time. My man Dan is joining me. What is going on, brother?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hey, thanks for having me on here, man. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah. It's actually been long overdue. I know we did the hip hop. I don't even know if you want to call it a hip hop, but we did like the thing at Joe Kroom's house. I went through like a gallon of Crown Royal. It was just like a wild Sunday. I really don't remember it. Yeah, I don't remember it, but it's football time. Even though it ain't football right now, it's
football time, man.
The NFL is never born. So tonight's show is titled "Cash Rules Everything Around Me." Everybody knows we some hip hop fans, so we're gonna kind of just talk about the climate of the NFL right now. But before we do, I want to get in, just say hi to everybody. I got my girl Tracy in. Richard Rush is always here. My man Randolph. Sarah's here. T. Estelle is here. My man Daryl Domes is here. The whole crew is here. So if I missed you, charge it to my mind and not my heart. I love y'all. We're gonna get right into this though. It's a lot to talk about, so I don't want to waste too much time. Listen, cash rules everything around me. We're gonna start with there was a couple things that happened today. So before we start talking about the Buffalo Bills, before we talk about the Bills, let's start off with the big one, like the boom, right? So the Ravens, they sent notice to the NFLPA today that they placed the franchise tag on the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, and it's set at $32.41 million. So what that means, so for those of you, I know most of the Buffalo Bills fans, we know everything. So, but for those listening who don't know, what that means is he's allowed to negotiate with other NFL teams, and then the Ravens have the ability to match the offer, or if he signs elsewhere, then they get 2 first-round picks in return for him. Dan texted me earlier and said, I'm gonna let you tell him what you said.
I said, I'm team let him go at this point. And the main reason is it's gotten this far. He's not going to re-sign with you guys long term after being, I don't want to say embarrassed, but definitely insulted and dissed after you see what Daniel Jones got. We could talk about that in a minute. But, if I'm Lamar Jackson, they had plenty of time to make this decision, and they let it go down to the absolute last minute and just said, all right, go get a price somewhere. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's his own agent. I think it benefits him monetarily, but I do think it might be preventing him from actually getting a deal done so fast, or maybe something would have happened. I don't know. But I think he's going to look at that Deshaun Watson deal and want absolutely nothing less.
Now, see, the only thing, okay, now when you say that, and I hear other people say, you know what, at this point, let him go, let him walk. I hear that. And I understand why people would say that. But then my perspective of it is, okay, as a Bills fan, right? Before Josh Allen, how many quarterbacks did we try to get? See what I'm saying? Like, it's so difficult to find the guy.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. And the Ravens, no, they haven't won a Super Bowl. No, they haven't made it to the AFC Championship. Okay, but guess what? They've had winning seasons every time. Every year that he's had the ability to stay healthy, they've made the playoffs. He won an MVP his second year. And when people say that he can't throw the ball, go back and look at that MVP season and tell me how many throws he made that, you know, that Daniel Jones can make. Because Daniel Jones, we'll get to Daniel Jones. But so my perspective is, it's like, yo, this dude is special. You're not going to get it. Like, so even if you get the 2 first-round draft picks, who are you going to draft this year or next year that's going to give you Lamar Jackson type? So I guess that's all that I'm saying. You're not going to get the same production.
Absolutely right. I mean, he's one of a kind. You know, there's nobody else that can do the things he can do on the football field. The situation is, the last 2 years, you know, he only played 12 games each season, and playoffs twice. So from the team perspective, I kind of understand them saying, like, where were you? You know, we can't sign on long term because we get so far, and then the injury bug happens, and then we got to go through the playoffs with Pro Bowl Tyrone Huntley at quarterback. You know, they got a Pro Bowl backup, so they're going to be okay, right, with him. I don't know. They're probably going to go somewhere else, but I don't know. They might be letting them do that so they can just figure out what a good price is, because I don't think anybody really knows.
Well, I'll tell you what. So your point is right. You know, he played 12 games the last 2 seasons, got injured, wasn't available for the playoffs. Right. If I'm Lamar Jackson, then I come back to the table and say this. Okay, well, why wasn't I healthy? What type of system have you been running that can't keep me? You're not protecting me. You're using me as a running back instead of a quarterback. And now you finally moved on from Greg Roman. Greg Roman is not the offensive coordinator. You have a new offensive coordinator who's going to bring in a completely different style of football. I can thrive in that style. So now that you're going to, you know what I mean? Like, so now you're going to move on from me, even though, and it's more than just football. Like, it's really more than just football.
Yeah.
As a Bills fan, we know, man, you drive anywhere in Bailey, you're seeing billboards of Josh, not just Bailey, Elmwood. You could be in Orchard Park. You could be in Niagara Falls. You could be in Rochester. You're seeing billboards of Josh Allen. You're seeing commercials of him on TV every time you're there. You're seeing all time. So what I'm saying is, you get all of this, like, the value that he brings to Baltimore is so much more than just
he's football. The first thing you think of when you think of Baltimore Ravens now. It's Lamar Jackson.
He's the first thing I think of when I think of Baltimore. I mean, they got some good seafood. I mean, I'm sorry, Baltimore. Don't get on me. But I mean, Lamar Jackson is what I think of when I think about Baltimore.
Yeah,
so
he's not from there. So
no,
that even, you know, magnifies it more. It's baffling they let him go.
My man Daryl Dome says the lack of an agent is exactly why it is where it is. Agents are that buffer where teams can be critical of a player to help negotiate. You can't be critical to a player about himself. I agree. But to me, it's also one of those things where it's like, as a player, who's gonna represent me better than me? Because now, from the other perspective, as the player, they were wrong and it was stupid. But the Cleveland Browns gave Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed deal. And you mean to tell me that Lamar Jackson isn't worth what Deshaun Watson is worth?
Nope.
Daniel Jones today just got, what is it? Because I typed it up over here. Daniel Jones today got 4 years, $160 million, $94 million guaranteed. This is the deal that they basically trying to tell Lamar, nah, go ahead and see what you can get. Lamar, come on, man. He needs.
No, he's going to get way more than that. He deserves way more than that. It's, again, the guaranteed money part with not guaranteed a full season, you know, and that It's tough. It's a tough situation to be in, right? You get hurt on the year you bet on yourself, and you get hurt again. And then they don't even, go through. I mean, I don't know what the negotiations were, but obviously they didn't go very well, considering they just let him walk. Go find something else. He's going to find something else. They're going to get a absolute ransom for him.
Well, I guess I'm just floored at the idea.
Yeah.
Again, I just go back to the statement that I made where I say, as a Bills fan, how many quarterbacks did we have in here before Josh Allen? Like, so since Jim Kelly and then to Josh Allen, how many quarterbacks? I'm gonna look it up.
At least 20.
It's just.
I mean, you can pull out like randoms like Jeff Toole if you even need to. Kelly Holcomb eras.
I mean, he started a game, so I mean that's Johnson, part of it.
RoboSack, right? Rob Johnson. I mean, the list it can go on forever. J.P. Lossman and Trent Edwards and all that.
Check this. I just put it up. So after Jim Kelly, it was Todd Collins, Alex Van Pelt, Doug Flutie, Rob Johnson, Drew Bledsoe, J.P. Lossman, Kelly Holcomb, Trent Edwards, Ryan Fitzpatrick. We had Brian Braum in here.
Brian Braum. I forgot about Brian Braum.
You know what I mean? E.J. Manuel, Thad Lewis, Jeff Toole, Kyle Orton, Tyrod Taylor, Nathan Peterman. You know what I mean? Derek Anderson, Matt legend, Buffalo Bills legend Matt Barkley, coming off the couch and thrashing on the Jets. But that's the list of guys. Matt Castle. That's the list of guys that you go through to get a franchise guy, and they struck gold. They struck gold at the end of the first round.
Yeah,
and you just gonna let him walk.
Gifted him generational talent. I mean, he has the MVP. I don't know if he'll ever win another MVP again, but he doesn't have to. A lot of players don't get one. It's really hard to get one.
Well, and then let me ask you this, because I feel like NFL teams I feel like even fans around this time of the year, we value draft picks in a way more than the player itself. You get what I mean? So like they say, well, we're going to trade away 2 first-round draft picks, or we'll get 2 first-round draft picks in return for Lamar Jackson. My thing is, right now, off the top of your head, right? Are there 2 players, one in this year's draft and one in next year's draft combined, that you'll be like, that's worth losing Lamar Jackson?
No, Micah Parsons is already on a team, right? So I can't imagine there's a player on a different position, right? And I bring up Micah Parsons because he's an absolute game wrecker at a non-quarterback position. It's rare that they can carry a team like that, like he can. So that's even just one. Like, you're not going to find a second one of those the next year. And the problem with the Ravens is they kind of kept winning. I think they went 2-3 with Huntley at the end of the season. So they got a pretty late draft pick. So your first round ain't going to do much. And then it depends on who you get traded with. But are you going to take the, Detroit Lions 4th overall pick, or no, the Colts 4th overall pick? I don't know if they do that.
My man Chris Janke says the tricky thing about draft picks is that you have to be able to hit with those draft picks, and that's not easy to do. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I would much rather, you know what? Let's make this thing work with Lamar Jackson. I know what I have in Lamar Jackson. I know how electrifying Lamar Jackson is. I don't know. Steve in the comments says USC's quarterback. I don't know if Sarah says Caleb Williams. I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to adjust to the NFL the same way he played in college. We've seen guys take the step to the next level and not look the same. That they're not the same player because the talent is elevated.
Kyler Murray, right? No brainer, number 1 overall. And then it's not just on the field. And to your point, Lamar Jackson, he's the leader of that team. Those players, they do whatever he says. They follow his lead as they should. He's the leader of that team. So it's baffling. But at this point, it's like, just get whatever you can. Clearly, they think that they can go further with a safer quarterback that'll play all the games, and that will maybe they'll get better wide receivers to come in, because they haven't been able to bring in any really good wide receiver talent. And some people blame Greg Roman and some people blame Lamar Jackson, and now they're both gone. So they should be able to bring in wide receivers now, right?
But I mean, I feel like it is. It was Greg Roman though, because I mean, think about it. We had Greg Roman in Buffalo, and you remember the way the game was played. You remember how it was played, and it's the same thing once he gets to Baltimore. Now, granted, they had the number one rushing attack several years. We had the number one rushing attack 2 years in a row with Shady. Beautiful. Yeah. But today, the NFL is about throwing the ball. Yeah. You're going to throw that thing if you want to win.
Look at Mahomes. He's the standard. He's the standard. If you don't have a quarterback that can beat Mahomes or at least keep it close for your defense, it's not worth it. Right? And I don't think any rookies are doing
that. Man, I don't see anybody in this draft or in any position that's going to provide the same type of value that you're going to have for a Lamar Jackson on your team.
Unless the Ravens are banking on getting a Jared Goff back or a veteran that's safe. I'm not saying he's like they're going to win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, but you get a safe veteran who's experienced, and you get first-round draft picks. You get some concoctions. You can make it happen. It's a roll of the dice, and I don't understand. Jared Goff. I can't think of anyone else that would be moved. There's so many other teams. They're not. I saw him on the Patriots, like, on Twitter. They do the jersey swaps. Like,
yeah.
Why would they? No, we don't want Mac Jones. That's not fair to the Ravens. I don't know who would be, but there's a lot
who
of
is fair.
Miami's out. I think Oakland's out. They don't even have a quarterback.
But that's my point. It's so difficult to find your guy. It's so difficult, and you have a lot of guys that
the Ravens are insane.
You know what I mean? You have these bridge quarterbacks that come in and they're okay. But you have these guys that come in and they're bridge quarterbacks, and you're not going to win with them. You just know you got to sell tickets, and that okay, if we can compete, we'll keep the fans kind of excited. But when you have Lamar Jackson, and then you go from Lamar Jackson, you mentioned Jared Goff. No disrespect to Jared Goff. He had a very good season last year. The offense for the Lions was phenomenal. Like it was better than anybody has expected. But you can't tell me that any real GM would be like, I'm okay with having Jared Goff rather than Lamar Jackson. Are you kidding me?
No. They'd be out within 6 weeks if that was spoken. But there's what else is the reason for letting him go out there other than either you can't negotiate with him because there's no agent and you're just tired of trying. You want to go see what the real market value is for him. So you let him go out and see what it is, knowing you're going to match whatever's out there, regardless of what it is. But at least now we know we didn't overpay because that's what they were willing. That's the only two logical reasons I can think of it.
And to me, that's not logical because somebody going to pay Lamar. Somebody is going to pay Lamar Jackson.
And unless their plan is whatever that number is, we're going to match it. I don't understand what their plan is.
Cash rules everything around me. Dollar bill. Y'all. So that's what it's about. Lamar Jackson wants a fully guaranteed deal. He wants the fully guaranteed deal. He ain't going to get it with Baltimore, apparently. So now let's move on because there's also, we just talked a little bit about Daniel Jones. Again, cash rules everything around me. We're talking about free agency. We're talking about cash, talking about money right now. The Giants came to a deal on an extension with Daniel Jones, 4 years, $160 million, $35 million more possibly in incentives, $82 million over the first 2 years, virtually $94 million guaranteed at signing. The first year cap around $19 million. So they made out pretty good, but then, okay, this money that you gave for, what was his stats last year, man? I think he had, 16 touchdowns? 15 touchdowns.
I looked it up earlier. I think he had 15 passing touchdowns. And he was top 5 in sacks taken.
I love Dave's. I love Dave's. Brian Daboll is one of the best offensive minds that Buffalo has been able to have as an offensive coordinator. I will always root for Brian Daboll. Daniel Jones is not that guy. He's not that guy. And I think it was a bad decision. I think they're going to cripple themselves. You could have found better. Now, Daniel Jones, when we're talking about the difference between Lamar Jackson and Daniel Jones,
night and day.
You get what I'm saying? So
you've seen growth with Daniel Jones. You've seen him make better decisions, but I think Daboll masks a lot of that, and I thought we saw that this year with Josh. There was a lot of mental mistakes or, missed snaps, fumble snaps, people stepping on each other's feet and things like that. Just little things in intense moments that make a difference. And Daboll has that. And he brings that to the Giants. Now, Daniel Jones, I think he threw 15 touchdowns. He ran for 7 of them, which is really good. A lot of one-score games I remember from this season. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm in Giants world. Everybody I know is a Giants fan. So we heard a lot about Daniel Jones this year. But Giants fans that I know, they're excited that they got to keep both. The price tag is a little high, but I know Giants fans kind of liked what they were seeing from Daniel Jones. I think Josh Allen gives people a lot of hope.
Bro,
he could do that.
This man threw for 3,200 yards. Bro, this man threw for 3,200 yards. 3,200 yards. And come on, man.
No. I think he threw for as many touchdowns as Marcus Mariota did. And I don't think he's going to get $160 million next year.
Man, I don't want to be too dramatic at it, but I'm just like, you can't tell me that this is the guy. Okay, we can move on from Daniel Jones because I don't want to come across as a hater.
And what do we know, right? Maybe he is. I mean,
he ain't. He ain't.
Right? It can happen.
But Matt Hasselbeck wasn't the guy. See, that's what I'm saying. When you look at certain quarterbacks play the game. But bro, when you look at guys play the game, you know when it's the guy. You know what I mean? Like, so you're paying this dude and you gave him a 4-year extension and he's not the guy. Like, he's not. We could talk about Matt. Okay, there have been quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls with superior defenses. There have been quarterbacks who haven't been good. Eli Manning, I never looked at Eli Manning as him. He beat the Patriots twice, though. Shout out to Eli for that. My guy. I appreciate you, bro.
I celebrated them like they were real Super Bowls, man.
For sure. Anytime the Patriots lose, I celebrate that. But you know what I mean? Like, you can look at somebody and know he's not him. I'm out here in Arizona. I look at Kyler Murray. There's certain moments when Kyler Murray in his first couple of years was like, okay, he might be him. Then you look at this last season before his injury, and you look at he's not him. Now, it could have been the coach. It could have been the scheme because he's athletically gifted. Kyler is a far superior talent than Daniel Jones. But I think it was premature to give him that money. So again, this is just how I see things.
No, you're right. No, and it's the nature of the beast too, with the amount. I don't tend to care too much about how much teams spend on players because, the cap's a myth and it could be worked out however it needs to work out. Beane does his magic. I trust him. But the fact that you extend him, he did win the Giants a playoff game. It's their first playoff game in a very long time. Imagine the extension Tyrod Taylor would have got if they would have beat the Jaguars, that the year that they broke the
I don't think he would have got one. I don't think he would have got one. They was ready for him to move on.
They win a playoff game. No. That's a whole different beast.
Not if you win the playoff game. Like, the score that game, I think the score that game was like 9-3 or something, or 10-3 or something like that. If we would have won that game, 12-10, they wouldn't have. You still got to score. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I even tell people. But I got yelled at this year by Bills fans because I said, no, I put some of the blame on Josh Allen and the offense. You scored 10 points at home in the divisional round. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, it wasn't Josh. That's a bad take. Well, I'm sorry. It's going to be the take that I give until the next season. Because as an offense, you can't Now, do I look at Josh Allen as a top 3 quarterback? Yes. But in saying that, you can't be a top 3 quarterback at home in the playoffs in the divisional round and only score 10 points. So
you're absolutely
what I'm
right.
saying is if that was Tyrod, no way they would have gave that man an extension. They was ready for Tyrod. They knew they was drafting the quarterback because that year it was stacked. You know what I mean? Even with Baker, even with Baker in it, it was stacked at quarterback that year. So now around the league, other players that were tagged. So we already mentioned Lamar Jackson. The Giants, who just gave Daniel Jones the bag, also tagged Saquon Barkley. The Jaguars tagged tight end Evan Ingram, and I'm happy for him. He deserved that bag.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, the Raiders tagged Josh Jacobs. The Cowboys, Tony, man, I wanted the Buffalo, and I knew we weren't gonna get him, but I wanted the Bills to get Pollard.
I didn't want to put it anywhere to ruin it, to mush it, but I was kind of hoping that would slide under there. But
I wanted it. And then the Commanders tag Darren Payne. So the Buffalo Bills did not use, and so this is what I want to do. Let's shift a little bit to the Buffalo Bills because this is what we talk about. So the Buffalo Bills did not use a tag at all. Per Sal, we have 26 or I don't know how many. We have a ton of free agents. Now, when if you're watching the show live or if you're watching this on YouTube, I have a graphic up on the screen that shows the undrafted free agents and the restricted, or not, I'm sorry, unrestricted free agents and the restricted free agents. And when you're looking at this list, obviously there's some names that like, okay, we can just kind of let certain guys walk and certain guys will walk. I would like to bring Sam Martin back, the punter. He signed a 1-year deal. I think he's a good fit in Buffalo. We didn't have to use him much, but there's guys we can go through the list here. My question to you is, let's start with the wide receiver room. Cole Beasley, Jake Kumerow, and Jamison Crowder are all free agents. Cole Beasley came out and said, I would like to be back. What are you doing if you're looking at this wide receiver room and you're looking at the 3 free agents that we have?
If I'm looking at that, I look at Cole Beasley, and I think I would bring him back. I'd bring him back with the understanding that I would keep my fingers crossed that Shakir would be starting in the slot next year. That's what I really hope for, but I don't know if we'll get that. But splitting time with McKenzie, he has to understand that. I think he would understand that. He just wants to play football, from what I understand. He doesn't really care too much about, touches. I think he just wants to play. I would take him over Crowder mainly because of the relationship that he already has with Josh. And you saw the impact that he was able to make, although it was very small in his time last year. You saw towards the end, they started picking him back up. Yeah. And then, Kumerow breaks my heart because I'll always blame him for losing Isaiah Hodgins. So he can, I'm not too keen on bringing him back either. I know the coach loves special teams, and Kumerow is good on special teams. Which
let me ask you this: why wouldn't you blame Isaiah McKenzie?
Well, because they're fighting for practice squad spots.
Well, Jake Kumerow wasn't a practice squad player. Jake Kumerow was active because of his role on special teams. Personally, I would prefer Shakir to have that Isaiah McKenzie role. Let the team save $2 million, get rid of McKenzie, let him go test the market, go out there and catch passes from Daniel Jones or something like that. I would bring Cole Beasley back. I would bring Beasley back, and I would bring Kumerow. It just depends. Special teams is always, because you got to figure AJ Klein, who's also a special team beast. He's a free agent.
And Tywan Jones, man, that's a big
Tywan Jones.
A lot of people know.
Yeah, Tywan Jones is going to be a big loss if we can't bring him back. I would like to see him back. If not, I mean, I don't know. People sleep on the importance of special teams, in my opinion. I would very much like if Tywan Jones could retire a Buffalo Bill. But sometimes I understand that it's my heart speaking more than, like, how is this guy? Well, I mean, it's a fact. I love Tywan. He's one of the best dudes I know on the team. But he's still also a very elite, a high level player when it comes to special teams.
Oh, so, absolutely. You don't hear special teamers' names very often, and you hear Tywan Jones' name every single game.
Now I know he had the one, what is it, a fumble where he had to miss tackle, So I mean, no, it was the fumble in the one game. He and Daryl Domes in the comment is saying he kind of fell off a little last year. I don't think he fell off. I think that he had a play that everybody remembers because it was a big moment. But other than that, I think that he's still one of the top ace. Like he's a gunner, and he's the dude is like that. Like I said, so special teams. Jake Kumaro still has a special teams role. Tyler Matakevich has the special teams role. AJ Klein has a special teams role. So those are some guys that I would. It's up in the air for me with AJ Klein. People are talking about, if we're gonna bring back Tremaine Edmunds, AJ Klein and Tyler Matakevich are the two that I would rather. If you're gonna draft to replace linebackers, it's not Tremaine Edmunds. What's your thoughts on Tremaine Edmunds? Because again, C.R.E.A.M, cash rules everything around me, man. And right now he got a bag coming to him.
I am a huge Edmunds fan. I think they struck gold with him. I think people forget he's only 24 years old because he's been playing for a couple years, but he's young and he is fast and he has such widespread range, sideline to sideline. He goes back in coverage, dropping back against tight ends and slot receivers. He does so much. I think he's a big reason that Milano was able to become an all-pro this year because of the amount of responsibility that Tremaine Edmunds takes. And it's very scary to think that they might not have him in the middle of that linebacking crew next year calling the plays, because you also have to take into consideration how well he knows the scheme and how well he knows the playbook and how well he knows the guys on the team. And you can't replace the leadership either. He may be a captain. I'm not 100% positive, but I think he's a captain also, right?
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Tremaine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
I mean,
he's a captain. Yeah.
That's a bigger deal than just what you bring to the football field too.
Yeah, and I'm sorry when but I was also looking at the comments and people are still talking about Taiwan. Taiwan is a captain as well. So again, it's like there's guys that we're saying like, and somebody, Sarah asked if he's 36. I believe he's let me look. Taiwan is 34. But the guy still, he runs a 4.33. You know what I mean? Like, look, on special teams, Taiwan is like that. Go back and look at the games, look at what he does. Chris Jenkins says, I think you're already paying Saran Neal a premium to be your special teams gunner. I think it might be too much of a luxury to have two elite gunners on this team, considering how tight we are on money. Here's the thing. This is obviously Chris is my man. This is not a shot at Chris, but this is part of what bugs me sometimes about having these type of conversations. A lot of times we assume that players are asking for a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
For instance, everybody assumes that Jordan Poyer is trying to he wants top 3 safety money. When did anybody ever hear Jordan Poyer say he wants top 3 safety money? I've never heard it. Well,
one thing I heard him say was he just doesn't want half his taxes taken out.
I heard him say that, but even prior to that, I did hear him say he wants to retire a Buffalo Bill. I did hear him say that he wants to stick around and him and Micah. So, but everybody's like, oh, when did we ever hear what Tremaine say he wants? Now, I think Tremaine's market will speak for him and say, this is what he's probably going to get. And if I'm Tremaine, 24 years old, if I'm in a city where I don't necessarily feel respected by the fan base and by a lot of people, yeah, I'm going to go get my bag and I'm going to go to a place that I'm going to be, you know what I mean? Like, that's just me. I don't want him to leave. I want Tremaine. But again, the conversation is, so back to what I was saying about Chris Jenkins' comment here. I don't even think at the age that he is, I don't think that Taiwan Jones is coming into the front office saying, yo, I deserve, a $6 million per year deal to be a gun. I'm not saying that, you know what I mean? And I don't think that's what Chris is saying, but I just think that a lot of times we assume what it is. Steve Lynn talks about Jordan. He said Jordan wants more time than money. Bills don't want to give either. Again, I don't know if that's exactly accurate because, I know that's not accurate because I know what he wants. He doesn't even want longevity. He just wants a certain type of commitment, and it's not even a necessary. It's not like a ceiling. It's not an amount that's astronomical. But the disrespect that a lot of fans come out and that all I'm gonna tell y'all right now with certain players, it plays into what these players think. These guys are people, so they see the tweets, they see what people say. Oh, he's old. He you know.
Tremaine catches so much heat.
Yo,
I
Tremaine, they
don't
was dogging
understand
Tremaine
it.
for years.
I don't
I got this
understand it.
because I got this because for 2 years, man. I got this mouse over here. For 2 years, 3 years, people been dogging my man Tremaine. Dogging my man Tremaine. Every chance I get, I throw this sign up. I love you, dog. I love you, Tremaine.
Catching
Because I
bodies,
want
man.
him to know. I want him to know that somebody wants him to be in Buffalo. And now I'm happy that the
Absolutely.
narrative has changed over this last season. Over this last season, people now I'm seeing we want Tremaine to resign. The Buffalo Bills got to figure out how to keep
Well,
Tremaine
no, 'cause
Edmunds.
now they're scared he's actually going to go. You know, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Hey, you need to figure that thing out beforehand because
just based on age and when you listen to opposing teams' offensive coordinators speak the week before games, he's the first name they bring up. Him or Poyer, really. You know, when Hyde was out for the season, and once Vaughn was gone, it's Tremaine Edmunds. He's the guy you got to watch. You know, he's the middle linebacker. He runs that defense, and losing that, I could see. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought your thought was complete. My bad.
I could see Poyer going elsewhere. He wasn't drafted here, so I understand that he might not have the same, mentality about it that Tremaine might from being drafted here, and they wanted me from the start versus they wanted me after they saw what he did in Cleveland. With Poyer, I could see him maybe moving on. I would break my heart too because I love Jordan Poyer, man. He's just phenomenal. And the Buffalo Bills are a better football team when he plays. And that's just a fact. I think they were 12-1 this year when he played. And the last one being the last loss to Cincinnati. So you can't replace that. It's hard, but I think that Tremaine Edmunds' loss would be bigger because he's involved in way more plays than the safety position is. He's involved constantly. He's the quarterback of the defense.
Let's talk about this offensive line. So we have Roger Saffold. I've heard now, Roger. I don't know how accurate it is because I've heard it from places that aren't necessarily trusted sources. But the word is that they're considering bringing Roger Saffold back. And actually, I do think Brandon Beane may mention that. It might. There's some discussions going on that they might bring him back. David Quessenberry, Bobby Hart can go. That's just it. I'm sorry. Bobby Hart can go. But any of these 4 guys are you considering bringing back?
If I was going to bring back any of them, I think it'd probably be Van Roten or Quisenberry because they're versatile. They can play multiple positions, and I've seen them play center. I've seen them play guard. They may have even gone into tackle for a couple plays if needed. Roger Saffold, I was probably mostly excited about him as a free agent coming in because I thought he was going to bring what they had with Derrick Henry in Tennessee. But he did not. So I think as Darryl echoes there. But yeah, I would bring back Quisenberry or Rotten just based off their versatility, and they've been with the team for so long. They know the scheme. They know how the offensive line works in Buffalo.
Let me ask you this now. Let's switch over to running back. Now, obviously, we talked about Tywan Jones. He's listed as a running back, but we all know he's special teams. But Devin Singletary, Buffalo Bills draft pick, Devin Singletary is a free agent.
Yeah.
I don't know what the market is for him. I think he's a good back. I don't think he's a great back. I think he's a good back. Would you bring Devin back?
So the thing with Singletary is really interesting to me, and it's really with the entire running back position. I think the reason why Singletary's market is kind of up in the air and questionable is because we don't really know what he's like as a main workhorse running back that he should be as a starter. There are games where he gets 8 carries, 10 carries, 11 carries. So I think his usage is kind of, hurting him a little bit in how much money he'll get and what his market will be, because we don't know how he can handle 250 carries in a year, if he can handle 200 carries in a year. So that's what I think's helped there. And the whole reason I'm kind of shaky on the running back position in general is that exact reason. I don't think they run the ball enough. So I don't understand investing a lot of capital in either draft or expensive free agents, unless it's Derrick Henry.
Well, that's where I was about to go, because we're talking about Devin Singletary, right? And
unless it's Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is being shopped by the Tennessee Titans, and I think it's like 10 mil, like 10.1 mil or 11 mil. Is that a contract that you would take? Now, again, this is the year that we got to pay Josh, and you got some right now. I believe the Buffalo Bills are like negative 20 or 21 million on the cap until they make some moves and figure some things out. What are you? Is that a contract that you would take on?
I think Derrick Henry is in a very similar position that we're talking about with Lamar Jackson, where it's like, what more do you need to see from this guy that you wouldn't want him on your team? He's the scariest running back I may have ever seen, in his ability to just dominate and just control everything. I see it on the screen here from the Mafia cast. They're the betting odds to land Henry, which makes me think they're not going to get him. Because when we're the betting odds for things don't necessarily work out in our favor historically. But I would love Derrick Henry on the team. I would love Devin Singletary on the team again. I would love for them to run the ball 25, 30 times a game.
25, 30, and I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Maybe not every game.
Maybe
not every game.
I just feel like it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen at all. So I mean, like, when you have Josh Allen at quarterback, like I'm not gonna I put it like this: when you have a Ferrari, you drive it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have a Ferrari just to let that thing collect dust. So there's no way I have Josh Allen at quarterback, but then I'm running the ball 30 times a game. It's just to me, it's just not.
The only thing I'll say to that is games like the playoff game against Cincinnati, where Josh Allen drops back, there's 3 guys in his face every time.
So that's the problem.
It would have been really nice to have someone you can hand the ball off to 20 times and just like.
No, because if Josh can't throw the ball, they probably can't block for running backs either. The problem is, and this is why we're talking about. No, fam. Let's be real. Let's be real. We talking about bringing these guys back. Roger Saffold was cheeks this year. You go, and they, like, in the comments, they trying to talk to me about Bobby Hart. He could go. We have to upgrade our offensive line. My man John Fina tells me that on the offensive line, Spencer Brown is better than he looked this year. I would like to see it. We re-signed Ike. It's just like there's certain things like, okay, Dion is good. I love Dion, but we really have to improve the protection for Josh Allen. You look at any of these games this year, and Josh Allen has been running for his life the majority of the season.
Majority of it.
So
absolutely.
So to me, it's like, yeah, you're saying it'll be nice and we're talking about getting Derrick Henry. On one thing is like, why give Derrick Henry the ball when, like, yeah, he can run through a couple guys, but dude, we got our offensive line. To me, if we need wide receivers first, offensive line second, and then I would like to. I know I'm gonna get yelled at. Defensive line, because when Von Miller is out, we can't get to the quarterback. So to me,
that's another problem in itself, because I'm looking at a lot of first-round picks down there in the spreadsheet.
It's a huge problem when you have first and second round picks on your defensive line and you can't get to. Dude, they had 3 backup offensive linemen in that Bengals game, and we couldn't get to. And then you go to the Chiefs game and you look at what the Chiefs do. Nah, bro.
Yeah.
No, man.
No. It didn't work. That may be part of the reason why Leslie stepped away. I'm not sure, but this. First round pick, second round pick. AJ's third round pick? AJ and Vanessa.
I thought he was a second. I could be wrong.
Maybe. And then Shaq Lawson, he was a first round pick.
So again, when all of these first round draft picks, and we can't get to the quarterback. We can't get to the quarterback. All these first round draft picks.
Maybe we need to try our luck on a fourth round lineman.
No, I need that first round talent, but I need them to evaluate a little bit better and get guys that's going to get to the quarterback. But as far as the offensive line, we're talking about Derrick Henry, we're talking about whoever else, man. With an offensive line like that, to be successful at running back, you need to be prime Barry Sanders. That's what has to happen. You got to be prime Barry Sanders to still be successful with the way that this line performed.
And that's why I say I think Derrick Henry is the only one that you got to take the shot if you can get it. Any other running back out there, I don't see any major upside over Singletary, other than him. And it's because I personally, I don't feel like we run the ball enough. And I know maybe 25 times is too many, but you give your lead running back 8 carries, tried to catch a bunch during the season, but you give him 8 carries a game. What's that going to do? He's not going to get a rhythm. The offensive line is not going to get into a rhythm. The defense knows. How many games did we watch where everyone in the world knew they're not running the ball this entire drive? It's not happening. You could just see it, So defenses adapt to that.
In fairness, how many times during the regular season were they really able to stop it? We were the number 2 offense in the league, and that's with having wide receivers with 50%. I ain't gonna say no names, Gabe Davis, that have 50% drop rate. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with that, we still were the second best offense in the league. They couldn't stop Stephon Diggs. They couldn't stop. So yeah,
that's why I don't.
When you go against the Chiefs,
I don't put that much draft in the running back room because of Josh and what we can do with Devin Singletary. We were, like you said, we were the number 2 rush. We were the number 2 overall offense. So I don't really see that much upside in getting rid of him. I'd love to have him back because I think that the running back room is fine the way that they use them. Aside from Derrick Henry, I feel you just got to do it.
But see, if you get Derrick Henry, I think the thing that changes is not the number of carries, but the number of carries you give one particular player. So then I think on downs that you're going to pass out the backfield, that's when you see your James Cook come into the game. But typically you're giving the ball to Derrick Henry on rushing downs. And the reason why I would like to see that combination, I don't want to sign him to like a 5-year deal. I don't want to do what we did with Shady when we got him here and extended him. I would like to see a Derrick Henry, get Derrick Henry here and look. Could you imagine for 1 year, because he's still running at a high level. So bring him in and then say, okay, we're going to play you on the contract you got. Next year, if you're here, then hey, if things work out, we can, depending on how you're running, we can sign you to something a little bit less, or we can let you go and test free agency and do your thing. Go test free agency. But I would most certainly love to see a backfield. Could you imagine an option with Josh Allen and Derrick Henry? And then you got Stephon Diggs on the outside. And then if Dawson Knox is playing like he did at the end of the season, it's unfair.
Yeah, it's unfair. And you haven't even brought in Cook, who he didn't have enough carries to qualify, but I think he would have led the league in yards per carry.
Yep, absolutely.
He didn't have enough attempts to qualify. Again, I think that would be tremendous to get Derrick Henry. But if you can't get Derrick Henry, I'm totally fine bringing Singletary back. I think that's a good mix that they had. I love Motor.
I'll be honest with you too. I love Motor. I would love Henry, but I also feel like you could draft a running back. I'm not opposed to drafting somebody. This draft, I'm not saying that it's like rich with running backs, but you could find some quality running backs that will give you the production that Devin Singletary gave you. So for me, where I'm at, I need wide receivers. First round, I want an offensive lineman or a wide receiver in the first round. Second round, I want an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. So the first 2 rounds, offensive lineman or a wide receiver. If you got 2 dope wide receivers, I want you to double dip like you did when you got Boogie Basham and Groot. Give me a wide receiver and a wide receiver to go behind Stephon Diggs. We got Shakir. Like, that's what I need to happen. We're not going to get the D-Hops. We're not going to sign Odell Beckham Jr. But this is what bugs me. when Odell Beckham Jr. was going on his tour, his free agency tour, we brought him in, which means we were going to find a way to sign him. If he wanted to sign in Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills would have done it. The money that he was asking for was way more than I feel like they should be paying a wide receiver at this point that's not named Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, look, I don't know. They need to figure out something after Stephon Diggs. I love Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, Gabe Davis is a very, very, very good wide receiver 3. Too much of a role for wide receiver 2.
He 50 something percent catch rate. It's the easy ones that he's that he's dropping. That's the frustrating thing with him and Dawson Knox. Sometimes they make the one hand going out of bounds, guy poking you in both eyes. They'll make that catch, but then 3rd and 2 right over the middle, no one's around you. That one they drop. The frustrating drops more than the amount of drops for me. We throw the ball more than anybody else, really, outside of maybe Mahomes. So there's going to be a higher percentage of mistakes made when you throw the ball 200 times more than a lot of teams. But doesn't excuse it.
Well, but I don't agree with that, and not to just disagree with you. Stephon Diggs, how many drops does Stephon Diggs have?
I can't even imagine this if he could have more than 5.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because this is the point that I'm making. Stephon Diggs was one of the he was probably, if not, like I don't know where he stood as far as targets for the year. Like, I mean, like where he ranked, but I'm gonna tell you, he wasn't near the bottom of the league. Can I put it like that?
Oh no.
This website doesn't have it. But if somebody in the comments, Richard Rush or Chris Janke normally helps me out with these type of things. Let me know how many drops Stephon Diggs had. I'm not saying I expect Gabriel Davis to be that type of player. That's not what I'm expecting from him. But what I am expecting,
7. He had 7 last year. 7 drops.
Diggs has 7 drops, bro. Diggs has 7 drops.
He's a freak, though. There are not many Stephon Diggs out there.
Yes, there are. Look around the league. A lot of teams now have number 1s.
At number 2s?
Well, no, dude, look at the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Every team that was proficient in the playoffs have 1s and 2s. Look at Miami. They didn't even make it past the first round, but they got Waddle and Hill. Look at Cincinnati. They got Higgins and they got Chase. And then really, you could talk about Boyd. You know what I mean? Look at the Eagles.
Yeah,
look
Brown
at it. Really, I would say the Chiefs had the worst receiving core out of the teams in the playoffs. Even if you look at the freaking go down and talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, they just got Calvin Ridley back.
Yeah, they're gonna be a force to mess with. I agree. We need a weapon. Gabe Davis, he made a lot of big plays too. You can't.
He did. So that's why I'm not crapping on him. But what I'm saying is, when we have to be realistic too and say, like, look, there's teams that have these wide receivers that they do it, and the Buffalo Bills were near the top.
Next year.
The Bills were near the top of the league in drop passes, man.
Oh yeah. Maybe Josh is throwing them too hard. I don't know. Something's got to give. They got to start catching passes. It's a problem, and it's been a problem for the last 2 years, really, outside of Diggs.
We drop him, man. Anyway,
so I want you.
My man Daniel says Diggs is elite. Not many like him. Again, I'm disagreeing because there's several elite wide receivers in the league. Justin Jefferson he's elite. You look at, like we can go through teams. We can go through teams, and there are elite.
D-Hop? Would you want them to go out and get D-Hop? Because D-Hop doesn't drop any points either. Yeah.
Yes, I would. We can go through teams, and there are less teams that don't like. I'm telling you, this is the era of the wide receiver. So, like right now, you had a couple years back where the draft was rich in wide receivers, and the Buffalo Bills. Every time we were going, We were waiting until 5th round to get a receiver. We're waiting until 4th round. Why? I've said this several times over the past few weeks, man. You do not want to be what the Packers have been to Aaron Rodgers. You have an all-world talent at quarterback, and you don't draft first-round talent. You don't draft exceptional talent as a receiver. There are receivers.
You let him go. When you get him, you let him go.
There are receivers. Look at what the Bengals did, man. You got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They drafted those dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're going to get in Detroit with a healthy Jameson Williams and St. Brown. Phenomenal talents. I agree. I would love to bring on D-Hop. I think the wide receiver room is a much bigger problem than the running back room.
Absolutely. And that's why I said it's at the top of my list. Offensive line and wide receiver.
I would go wide receiver
first 2 rounds.
Only because I don't think you're going to get a great offensive lineman at the end of the first. I think you might be able to get some solid value later on, 2nd round, 3rd round, but a 1st round wide receivers are usually all special talent. They don't always all.
I'm not even going to fight you. I'm not going to fight you. If it was me, give me a wide receiver in both rounds.
I don't think you're enough to get a lineman. So,
well, you might. If there's a beast, if there's some, I don't know who that would be. But now I'm not a GM. Obviously, I do podcasts, right? So there's a reason why I'm not a GM. But to me, if there's not a stud where I'm drafting, I get offensive linemen in free agency, but not. I don't want bargain. Like now, I get it. You can't pay top dollar for every player, but
no.
There are teams that put together offensive lines.
Like Orlando Brown, right?
He's free agency.
Right? Orlando Brown.
He gonna get some bread. He gonna get some bread. That ain't gonna be cheap.
But hey, you need offensive linemen. Right?
You do. But what I'm saying is like you have to draft young talent. You have to draft young talent to surround Josh Allen. You also have to protect Josh Allen. So those are to me, and then defensive line.
It just hurts to say it. I don't necessarily disagree with you. It just hurts to say it. I don't know if I get
anyway
defensive lineman in the 1st round.
Well, look, it's almost time to get out of here. Cash rules everything around us. It's free agency coming up, then the draft coming up. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. Do you have anybody on your wish list in free agency?
Not necessarily. I think James Bradbury on the Eagles, he signed a 1-year deal. I think he's a free agent again. I think he did wonders for that defense over there in Philly. I would love to see him come up and maybe take, Dane Jackson's gone, I know, or he's restricted, I think. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see, honestly, who was it? Chris Jones. He just got released. You want to go D lineman in the 1st round? Kansas City just let Chris Jones walk. I think he was at the top of my list.
I thought that was Frank Clark. I don't think they let Chris Jones.
Frank Clark. I'm sorry, not Chris Jones.
I was about to say they let. But again, he gonna command some money, and I just don't know if the Buffalo Bills are gonna be able to bring in.
You say wish list, man. That's my wish list. I
feel you.
Figure it out.
I feel you. This is where I'm at. I want my man Daryl Domes. I want Tremaine Edmunds back. That's what I want.
No.
That's it.
Yeah. No. So, I think we talked about that a lot today. I would love to have him back. I'd love to have Poyer back too.
Yeah, I would love J. Poe.
Hopefully, Hyde and White and those guys on defense, they can pull some emotional strings and try to get them run it back, unfinished business. That spiel, that sell. I hope so.
Well, we gonna see what it is, man. I'm gonna get you back on before the season starts. So like after we kind of have the draft and after free agency is done, and we kind of have a picture of what the team will look like. So why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on? I mean, I know you technically a retired MC, but let them know if you got anything that you're working on or just anything, and then we're gonna get on out of here.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I'm thankful that you had me on the show. I appreciate it as always. Always great catching up with you. you know, we chop it up on Twitter, but this is good. You know, great to see you again.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just happy to be here. Thank you so much, man. This was a great time. I'm looking forward to the draft. I'm looking forward to the off season. Hopefully, you know, we can have the same kind of feeling that we had at the beginning of next season, where, you know, everyone feels really good and happy about where the team's headed. Because think about 10 years ago. Anytime you feel down about this team, think about 2012 and where we are now. And it's a whole different experience. It's a great experience being a Bills fan now.
Yeah, and Bills fans, let me say this before I get off here, because I know last week I was a little upset and I was venting. You know, I was venting, getting it all out.
Sometimes.
The Buffalo Bills, we're still in a good place. We're still in a good place. We got Josh Allen. We got Stephon Diggs. He's not being traded. I just wanted to say that. I know all of this stupid stuff on Twitter that I'm seeing.
Not even worth
Diggs is
bringing
not
it
being
up.
traded. Yeah. I barely even wanted to bring it up. He has dead cap this year of like 45 mil. Next year it's like 24, 25 mil. He's not being traded. The Buffalo Bills are not going to eat that, especially when they can use him. The talent that he is, they
need him.
Anyway, so that's that. Buffalo Rumblings, y'all know how we do it. Next week, we are going to we are going to be expanding our vidcast family as well. We're gonna be like, we got some stuff happening. And the Mafia cast is about to go down. They about to do some things for us, and it's a beautiful show. Check out my family already. I think they go live tomorrow, but next week we're gonna be expanding the vidcast side of things and try to continue to just bring us some good content during the off season. And then I'm excited. I'm excited for the season. We got a lot of stuff for the season that I feel like will benefit Bills fans that want to be in the know. We're going to have some daytime stuff going on. We're going to have just all types of things. So, you know, y'all love each other. Y'all take care of each other and live in peace. And as always, stay positive, test negative, go Bills. You can say
Go Bills.
Bills. Let's get it.
Code of conduct.